back on your seat. Here we are, what, 87% blue on a good day. But in Redford Township, we have a little bit of red on that map. I guess that was a bad spot. With our new park commissioner, Robert Donovan. And he is here tonight. You do a park update? Anything to do with Redford Township? All right, well, Redford Township is doing pretty good. That's where you guys are at tonight. Thank you again for coming out. We appreciate the support. And he is here to introduce our speaker tonight, Jonathon Gilliam. Robert, it's all you.
Good evening, my fellow beautiful deplorables. I'm not supposed to screw this up. He's kind of intimidating looking. He's got a beard. I tell you what, at 25 years old, I wake up mad every day that I still cannot grow facial hair. It's not easy being a man with no facial hair. Welcome to Wayne County, better known as the district that Senator Elizabeth Warren did not win in the presidential election. I think SpongeBob got more votes in the presidential election than Elizabeth Warren in Wayne County. I am the distinct honoree of introducing this patriot, somebody that has served America in multiple ways. It's pretty amazing to see what he's accomplished. I remember a few weeks ago when Matt Hauser asked if I wanted to introduce this individual, and I thought that was a really good idea because I get to get up in front of people and speak. And then I started to read this guy's long list of accomplishments, and I've kind of got a crush on him. Yeah, I mean, he's the closest thing to Superman that I know of in human form. Jonathon Gilliam grew up in Ozark Mountains of North Arkansas and graduated from the University of Arkansas at Little Rock with a BA double major in political science and psychology.
I'm not real sure what you do with that.
We should have a conversation and talk about it. He also began his career as a police officer just outside of Little Rock, Arkansas, before he received his commission in the United States Navy as an officer candidate school. He then attended basic underwater demolition, also known as SEAL training, in the U.S. and the U.S. Army Ranger School before being forward deployed as an officer in charge in Central and South America as a Navy SEAL officer on counter-drug narcotics mission teams. In 2002, Jonathon left military service and went directly into federal law enforcement, where he served as an undercover federal air marshal agent flying over 100 U.S. transcontinental flights, including flights that were being targeted on September 11th. Later that year, Jonathon also served as a security specialist contractor for the United States Department of Homeland Security, responsible for instructing soft target sectors as a member of an assault team, showing them how they could target themselves, doesn't make any sense to me, from an attacker's perspective in order to build awareness for action and better defenses for reactions to those attacks. From 2005 to 2013, Jonathon served with the FBI as a special agent in New York office on criminal and counterterrorism squads. He conducted thousands of hours of surveillance, served as co-case and case agent, led arrest teams, and functioned as a special events manager unit coordinator, where he developed threat assessments on targets in New York areas and functioned as an on-scene coordinator at high-threat events and large-scale incidents. As the FBI Rapid Deployment Team coordinator, he outfitted and coordinated the deployment of investigative agents to Benghazi for their short but intense investigation of the crime scene in Libya after the unfortunate death of Ambassador Stevens, Sean Smith, Glenn Doherty, and Tyrone Woods. Jonathon also served the first FBI agent on the scene for the famed Miracle on the Hudson, where he and NYP detectives were responsible for pulling the first 2 passengers off the rescue boats, where they determined the incident was not a terrorist attack, but massive engine failure from a bird strike. He also isolated the crew before turning them over to their union reps, where he confirmed to Captain Sully that all souls were alive and accounted for from that plane. Such a cool story. I actually watched that movie. Were you in it?
No. And he said his union rep was the one that told him that. That's a whole nother story.
Okay, well, currently, Superman, also Jonathon Gilliam, is the founder and the CEO of the United States Continued Service, involved in crisis management and training. He also serves as a media contributor on politics, national security, the military, and law enforcement issues, and has made over 1,000 appearances on Fox News, CNN, or commonly referred to as the Clinton News Network, MSNBC, Newsmax, and other global and local news networks. He is a Sirius Satellite XM host where he fills in for Sean Hannity, Andrew Wilco, and David Webb. And he hosts his own Facebook Live show when it's not experiencing technical difficulties in the mountains. It's called The Experts, and you can watch that nightly at 9 p.m. Eastern on his Facebook page, Jonathon T. Gilliam. Gilliam is the only analyst in today's media that possesses operational experience in military special forces, combined with experience in multiple local and federal law enforcement agencies, displaying an in-depth knowledge in operations and leadership that is simply unmatched. Now, after that very long and very detailed patriotism of something that I want to do one day, please welcome the one, the only, Jonathon T. Gilliam.
All right. Let's see here. Where are we going to start?
You got a shirt like this?
First off, why his feet are tiny? Are they really? His hands actually look pretty big in this, but I don't know about his feet look tiny. No, here's something that that I want everybody to do before we start. That was why I was picking up my phone. My mind went blank. You got to forgive me, because let me start this real quick. How many people in here have an iPhone, or everybody has a smartphone these days, right? Yeah. Pull your phone out, and this is what I want you to do. First off, I want you to look up the name Adam West. All right? You know who that is? You know who Adam West is?
Batman.
Who is Adam West? That's right.
We don't need.
Where's Matt? That's Adam West right there. Look at that guy right there. And tell me that's not Batman. At first I thought he was a cross between like some high-class butler, the way he walks around and manages the room, and some politician. Then I heard you're going to law school, and I was like, no, you got to be a scientist. But then I just realized you are Batman. You're not Batman's butler, you're Batman. So, okay. Enough for that.
Actually,
You can at ease now.
Does anyone need another glass of wine or?
I'll take you to his lair.
Let me know.
Okay. Now what I want you to do is, I want you to go, if you have Facebook, and add me on Facebook, Jonathon T. Gilliam. And what I'm going to do right now real quick is I'm going to start a Facebook Live, and you're going to be on here. But I do this everywhere I speak at all the different Republican groups, and I've been all over this country speaking to different groups. And go figure, my phone's free. There it goes. And I'm going to tell you about my show and how it plays into me being here. It's unbelievable how this worked out perfectly. So let me start the Facebook Live. If everybody could stand up, I want everybody to stand up. And I'm going to introduce you. Let's see here. Give it just a second. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. All right, let's give everybody a second to add on here. This is Jonathon Gilliam. That's the way I say it so people know how to spell it. Yep. And the host of The Experts on Facebook Live every night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And behind me is a likeness of the president. I would love it if it was actually him. He's not here. But where I am is in the 13th District Republican Party in Redford, Michigan. I just forgot where I've been now. I've been so many places I forgot where I'm at now. But I wanted you all to say hello to them. I do this every time. And everybody give a round of applause for yourself and let everybody know what it means to be conservative. Whoever wants your show, you gotta scare them, all right? They don't tell me they want it. All right, I'll see you all a little bit later on the expert fight. Now make sure that you add me. Let me post this real quick.
Run a little behind.
Oh, look at that. Instant replay. All right. I've been traveling since May 5th. And now you're going to understand why I forgot where I was at there for a second. I've been traveling in my Suburban, which me and two friends rigged to be like a mini RV with my dog Rico, who's out there right now, a 17-year-old Jack Russell. And I came up with an idea back in October, and I started a GoFundMe page. And what I'm doing is I'm challenging people that watch my show, or just people across the country, to fund me going around to different groups, whether it be like this, or if somebody wants to host it at their local church. We've had one at a hunt club. And what I do is I go there and I give the microphone to the people, and I let the people talk. So we have like a mini town hall, but I'm really the moderator more than I am the speaker, like I am tonight. And I've been to, since May 5th, I've been sleeping in my truck. I know that sounds terrible and homeless, but I'm not homeless. I have an apartment in Manhattan, but I'm committed to not spending the money that people are donating for this trip on frivolous things. I am going to stay in a hotel tonight because I have to get sleep before I drive back to New York and get good sleep. With Enrico as well, he's about to go out of his wits. But I've been to Myrtle Beach, I've been to Norfolk, Virginia, I've been to Raynell, West Virginia, I've been to Oxford, North Carolina, and Benton, Arkansas, speaking to the Republican group there, Yellowville, Arkansas, where I grew up, and here. I've done all that on the dime of the American citizens that believe in conservatism. And American citizens are the ones who have organized every single one of these events that I've been to. They're not Republican Party chairs. They're not people who belong to a big organization. These are normal, everyday people. And what's happening is I'm challenging them to fund it. I'm also challenging them to organize it. And then I show up with the show and I moderate it. Now, I'm no famous person, but I've been around enough. I've been on the news enough where people recognize me. So I'm bringing my recognition to them and then giving them the floor. Now, anybody can do this. Anybody. And what's happening is, in the past month, I've started to see, because I've traveled to all these different states, similarities in each group that I go and allow to talk. Things like parents whose kids are growing up and they're deathly afraid of when they pass or if something happens to them, what world are these kids going to live in? What are these kids, what do they have to look forward to? How are they going to handle the problems that are occurring? Again and again, a reoccurring theme called communism is starting to pop up. And the majority of people that actually sponsor these events and fund it understand that. But a lot of the people that watch the show are amazed when we talk about communism. They think somehow that communism went away with the Cold War. The other thing that comes out of this is that the American people in the rural areas are just as wise as the people that live in the city. Now I know that, and you know that. You're conservative. But the people that live in the urban, in the rural areas, that live in the deep south, people that live outside of the cities, have a terrible reputation because the media and Democratic politicians have tried to make you out to be dumber, to be racist, to be homophobic, to be misogynist. And so when you throw a southern accent into that, or like my buddies in West Virginia, a shaved head and tattoos, they fit a pattern that the media and politicians have been throwing out there. And it's becoming very apparent that the American people are becoming educated. Conservatives, and here's the biggest difference between conservatives and liberals. Liberals are communists. They follow a communist ideology. Conservatives are free thinkers. They're true Americans. Liberals, communists, globalists, socialists, whatever you want to call them, anarchists, the reality is they are not free thinkers, and they have subscribed themselves and turned themselves over to control by party members in the Democratic Party, such as Hillary Clinton, whose mentor, Saul Alinsky, was a communist. Mayor de Blasio in New York City, one of the biggest cities in the world, is a communist. He was backed by the Communist Party of America. His parents were communists. He changed his name 3 times. Most people don't know that. He worked for the communist Nicaraguans while we were fighting them. And he actually went down there and was down there for 2 weeks working with them, then came back to the United States and supported them. He went to Russia on his honeymoon. How many people know that? Not many. Because here's something that I want you to be shocked by. The Democrats, the communists, the liberals, globalists, socialists are more unified than you. You're free, but they're unified. They're robots, but they are crushing you in this country. You know, I come from the South, and I used to watch the Dukes of Hazzards when I was a kid.
Yay!
And if you listen to the song, you know, just the good old boys, never meaning no harm, beats all you ever saw, been in trouble with the law since the day they were born. So they're being glorified for being in trouble with the law. Now you skip through that song and you get to the end when they say, fighting the system like 2 modern day Robin Hoods. That's communist. Now that's from when I was a child. You all have been indoctrinated, even though you're conservative, to just ignore that stuff. And now they tried to make that look like conservatism, like good old boys, conservatives. But the reality is what they were pumping through that show and shows like that was indoctrination of communism. And I'm going to use this word over and over again. What is communism? How many people in here, I'm not going to ask you what it is, but by a show of hands, how many people here think you know what communism is? All right? Let me tell you what communism is. Communism, under Marx, formed in the 1800s, not even 100 years after our country was founded, by people that were seeking freedom and fleeing from oppression and tyranny. Marx developed a philosophy where, in order to get to it from A to Z, Z being a utopia, where everybody works, and if you're in need, I give to you, and if I work, I take. And there's no government. The people are you would think, free. Commune. They live together. They take care of each other. Doesn't that sound a little bit like freedom? But Marx believed that the population had to go through a series of events in order to cause a division and ultimately a synthesis of the people, to eliminate ruling parties, to eliminate division. They had to divide in order to get the groups then to come together. Now, why did they want people to divide? Because Marx knew that freedom seekers are troublemakers, that people that want to be equal are troublemakers. He knew that people that have different types of sexuality are troublemakers. Why did I loop all those people in together? You could talk about transgender, you could talk about color, you could talk about sexuality, you could talk about all these things. He knew that there was enough energy in a population to get people spun up about things like that. that determined nothing about work ethic, that determined nothing about morality and how you treat other people, but people would get spun up on that. And then they would turn around and fight. And eventually, what would happen is they would overthrow the ruling party. And then, here's the thing. The government would come in. It would turn into, there's different ways that you could go about this. In that era, it was the industrial era. So the Industrial Revolution would happen. And who would they come in and crush first after they get rid of the ruling party? Who do you think that they would crush? They would crush all those people that they used to divide the country. They would kill the gay activists. They would kill anybody who was trying to be a separatist or equal rights. They would go after all those people and they would kill them. Then they would go after, and this is the funniest thing, people like Hillary Clinton, Nancy Pelosi, Maxine Waters, and they would kill them. And you can look at the history of this. I didn't realize this, I'm not going to lie to you, until I got out of the FBI. Because when you step out of government service, those of you that have been in or have been in government service and then got out, you can identify with this, that you just see things a little bit differently. Because the wool that was put over your face is taken off all of a sudden. And you turn around and you say, I'm not really clear on why we did things that way. Because it wasn't really effective that way. What you start to see when you get out, is if you really try, you'll see things more clearly. And when I started to realize that communism, the word kept popping up more and more, and Saul Alinsky kept popping up more and more. He was, if you don't know who that is, he was Hillary Clinton's mentor. He also mentored a guy that mentored Barack Obama, so he actually mentored Barack Obama as well. He's a communist. He says he's a communist. In his book, Rules for Radicals, on the second page, he says he's a communist. He also dedicates his book to numerous people, including Satan, who he says was the first rebel. And he also said in an interview, when he dies, which he is dead now, we'll see, if his dream came true, he would rather go to hell than he would to go to heaven, because he'd rather be around rebels than he would people who followed the law, I guess is what he would say. Those aren't exact words. I started looking at all this, and I started realizing communism is not Russia. Communism is not Eastern Bloc. Communism is the belief in a utopia. And it came about right after our founding fathers came up with this experiment called America, which gave you the power, that gave you the freedom to decide how great you were going to be. They just skipped straight to Z. They didn't go through all this process of dividing people up and doing all these things. And yeah, we had to grow as a country. But ultimately, here's the interesting thing about freedom and democracy, is that as it developed, the people that suffered, the people that were oppressed, they weren't oppressed in vain. Their oppression eventually was recognized, and we shifted. That's what freedom does. But when you turn your freedom over to a controlling entity, you will never be free again. You become a slave. Except the difference is, instead of being oppressed, you are giving over your freedom to an oppressive entity who will turn around and then oppress you. That is what communism is. It's a lie. It's a lie that people buy into, but it's a lie that is being controlled from the top down, and it's being manipulated like puppets from the bottom up. Now, by a show of hands out here, how many of you would allow your children, if right now we said, come on in, and some girl comes walking in here, half naked, no shirt on, pasties on, G-string on, and dancing like this, would you set your children down right here and allow them to watch that? By a show of hands, how many people would? All right? You allow your children to watch that on television. Many people don't even check what their children are looking at. By a show of hands, how many people would allow a liar to come into your house every night and lie to you, full well knowing the person's a liar, and then take what they say as the God's truth. How many people here, raise your hand, would allow that to happen on a nightly basis? You see, that's what you do every day when you turn the TV on. And when you leave it on. I just leave Fox News on in the background for background noise. It's like a liar sitting in the back. Yeah, I'm saying Fox News. You have a liar sitting back there manipulating things. Fox News, and I've been on Fox News. I was a CNN contributor. I've seen both sides of the house. I've been on Chinese TV. I've been on New Zealand radio. I mean, I've been on all BBC. Fox News took conservatism and made it its platform, not to give you a voice. Fox News became a big thing because it was a vacant, void area of advertising. And they came in there and Rupert Murdoch got a guy, Roger Ailes, who he knew was conservative, who had insights into conservative politics, and he said, let's build this. And they built it. And they built an advertising business out of your belief system, out of your core values. So what's happened over the years is Fox has became the go-to place for conservatives for their news. But then they started hiring people like Shepard Smith, who's a communist. They started hiring people that you may not even realize. 70% of the people, I was told this by somebody that works at Fox, 70% or more of the people that work behind the scenes at Fox News are all highly liberal. They all came from MSNBC, CNN. The Murdoch brothers are globalists, which is another name for communist. And what's happening now is, because you're indoctrinated to believe that that is your voice, they are slowly moving to the left. Well, it was slow. Now it's quick. Now that Roger Ailes is gone, and all these other voices are gone, Sean Hannity's the only one really left on there. They're moving quickly to the left, and I predict they're going to go past center, which they basically already have, and they're going to stay there for a period of time. I think half of it's probably because the Murdoch brothers are globalists in their thinking, and they think that middle America is dumb, and they can pull them over this way, and then they actually think that they're feeding them what they want to hear. But already it's starting to crash, and people already are saying, I can't handle this anymore. The specialists, this TV, I'm not here just to rag on Fox News, but I'm here to tell you, when you look at a show called The Specialists, and they have a liberal panel, what are they, and none of them have any experience in what they're talking about. That's that liar. You've invited them into your house. I want to turn on CNN because there's breaking news, and they cover breaking news better. I've seen and been the first responder on a plane and helicopter crash in the Hudson River, where a family was killed, and I think it was a father and son that was flying the plane. And I was there. I was only FBI agent that day because it was Saturday and nobody was around, so I lived right there. And I was out there on the dive boat with the New Jersey Police Department, and NYPD brought the first body up. It had no arms. I don't want to be gruesome, but it had no arms. Then they brought an arm up. And the helicopter, the news helicopter, was being held off at a distance. So what do you think the news reported? An adult body without arms was pulled up, and an appendage was pulled up later. No. They said an adult body and a baby were pulled out of the water. I watched it on the news. I was literally as close to that ASEA poster right there when they pulled the body out and the arm. That's that liar, right? Even when you watch breaking news, you're not getting the truth. When you turn on, your kids turn on Nickelodeon, when they turn on Cartoon Network, for instance. I'm a big fan of American Dad. I think that the cartoon is goofy and stupid, but the guy's kind of a jock and he's a CIA agent, so it's kind of funny. But I've stopped watching it a lot. I mean, sometimes I'll watch it, but there's so many man-boy jokes in that cartoon that I just became uncomfortable with it. Why is that something that's even funny? But yet, it's in cartoon after cartoon after cartoon. It's in big money. You have activists. You have different groups that are activist groups. You have sports figures, Hollywood figures. They're all on this tree. And while that may seem random, and that may seem random, when you start to put together what they're pushing for, it's not random anymore. And from an investigative standpoint, I get furious about this because the conservative American people in this country are not being led by the Republican Party. Now let me say that again. The conservative people in this country are not being led by the Republican Party. Now we have people in here from the Republican Party that hold office. But it's the Republican Party. You are not the Republican Party. You are conservative Americans. I don't even like to use the word conservative. You are free-thinking Americans. Let's just take it all out. You're free-thinking Americans. And there are great free-thinking Americans in the Republican Party. But the Republican Party is doing the same thing that Fox News did. And as I travel around the country, what I'm seeing are conservative, free-thinking Americans that are without a train. They're just there, sitting by the tracks, waiting for somebody to come along and pick them up and organize them. If the Republican Party, the party, not the people, if the Republican Party wants to play a part in this, they need to start doing things like I'm doing. Traveling the country, organizing people. Forget about budgets. I'm being funded by the American people. I raised $20,000. I've spent maybe, I don't know, $2,000 in this trip. I've been gone since May 5th. And I'm listening to the people. The people are talking. And what do they say? We don't know what to do. We don't know how to organize. We don't know how to unite. The American people are sitting there on their couches. I'm talking about the free thinkers. They're sitting there on their couches. They're watching the news. They're angry. They're educated enough now that they say, that's a lie. That is a lie. That person does not have my best interests at heart. That person is a communist. That person is just a weirdo, which we see a lot of that up in D.C. And the American people are sitting back saying, where is the leadership? And not just that, they're saying, I don't know how to unify. And then I look at them, I say, you're doing it right now. Everybody, this is unification. I'm talking, but you all are eating. You're here together. You're discussing your like-minded people. But this is across the country. So here's my challenge to the Republican Party is stop being the Republican Party. Start being a party of free-thinking Americans and stand together. That's what has to happen. And we elected this president because he kept using the term "Make America Great Again." But I'm here to tell you, this guy may turn the ship, but the people are going to be the ones that dock it and bring it back to the place where it should be. In an area where it's secure, being watched, being taken care of. How many veterans do we have in here? Thank you for your service. I'm going to chastise you a little bit here. Remember, listen, I'm with you, okay? I love every single one of you. You're here for the right reasons. But when I point out a veteran, you all should stand up and clap. You should be proud that these people have swore an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. Do you realize it's 1% of the population? So, where are our veterans at in this room? Raise your hand. Now, if you're sitting during that, you better have a health injury. Because I'm being serious. What you just did was unification. You all stood for the right reasons, for the right people. But here's the other thing. How many of you are Americans in here? How many of you are free thinkers? She's getting it. Listen, I just sat here. Hold your applause I sat here and heard this veteran back here. She said that this is not a high Republican area, which means you all are the minority in this area. You're the free thinkers in this area. You should be standing up and roaring together and being proud that you're here. Not just, listen, this little clapping stuff and, yeah, we're glad to be here. You better realize something. You're being subverted right now. You can have a seat. You're being subverted. There are people in this country that hate you.
Yeah.
They hate freedom, like I just explained. They want to go through the steps to get to Z. They don't believe that they're free already. They believe in some weird utopia. You better get excited. Not like a game show host. You better get excited because there's a chance a civil war is coming.
Yeah.
There is a chance that in your lifetime,
How's it?
that this country could fall completely from freedom. Look up, when you go home, Yuri Bezmenov. Yuri Bezmenov was a Russian defector, and you all tell me if I'm going over in the time, because I really want to hammer these points home. I may go over. Yuri Bezmenov was a Russian defector during the Reagan era. He's dead now. He gave several courses, you can see him on YouTube, and he talked about subversion and how the Russians would subvert different countries. What they would do is, like in judo, if some big guy that's bigger than you takes a punch at you, you don't sit there and take the punch. You don't try to strike him back. You lean out of the way, you grab his arm, and you use his forward momentum to carry him to the ground.
Yeah.
That's the way subversion works. And it's been around for 2,000 years. Probably longer than that. They go after religion. The very first thing, they go after the morals. I loved your prayer. And I love the Pledge of Allegiance. If we did this in New York City, if we just sat and prayed together, which I've done, people just look at you like, those weirdos over there. You know, meanwhile, they're walking down the street with a G-string and like a tank top or something. Holding, you know, a couple guys holding hands. And not that listen, I live in an area where it's a high gay population. That is the least of my worries. But that's one of the things that they use. They pump these people up. They say, you have to be angry about your skin color. You have to be angry about your sexuality. You have to be angry because you're a woman. And they get rid of religion, and they want you to concentrate on whatever it is that makes you different or puts you in a group, and they want you angry. It doesn't do anything for unity, but that's not what they want. They want you to start, the country to start going like this, and they want to force that country down. And that's the way it works. Normally it works very quickly in small countries. But the United States was founded on Judeo-Christian principles, and that's what's kept it strong. He talked about when people used to go to China, and they would try to subvert China. Or they would just come in, not even subverting, and they were selling something. They'd tell them, nope, you got to leave. And if they didn't leave, they killed them. That's how serious they took subversion. Well, all this is happening. All the different limbs of this tree are subverting you. They're making you angry about different things. They're making politicians good people, and that's probably a few. I'm talking about when I say politicians, we talk about veterans, 1% of the population serve. Out of the politicians in Washington, D.C., it's a very small population of people that have your best interest at heart. They get up there, they get indoctrinated in this stuff, and they never work forward to getting things done. Look at the health care bill. It's a perfect example. If this was a military operation, we would have had a health care bill that was wholly effective for the president the second he walked into office. Sir, here's your health care bill. But that didn't happen. So you have to ask the question, why? Because we've been subverted. Because people don't put you as important. Now, I'm sure I'm offending some people in here. When I was in Benton, I said, and I'm going to tell you now, if you don't realize this, the Democratic and the Republican parties are private entities. They are not government agencies. Now, you belong to the Republican Party. How many of you knew that? To be honest, it's not a shame if you didn't know. Because I had a degree in political science. I worked in the White House for a week under Clinton. I got to spend a day in the Democratic Party, a day in the Republican Party. And even I didn't realize that those weren't government agencies. They own every single seat of government, of power in the United States government. Every judge, every congressman, every senator, every attorney general is beholden to one of those two parties. The difference, though, is not the politicians. The difference is that the Democratic followers, the people that subscribe to the Democratic Party, are not free thinkers. Conservatives are free thinkers. When you have politicians, attorney generals, people that are in power, and they understand that the people in the Republican Party are where the power base lies, then you're going to have change in the Republican Party. Then you're going to have politicians beholden to you, and it's not going to be the other way around. Does this sound familiar to anybody? Do you all understand what I'm saying? I've worked in so many different agencies. I was in Central South America, in some of the most dangerous countries in the world. And because of politics, our vehicles were only armored for 9mm. Where AK-47s are at every block, that's a 7.62 round. You could literally shoot that through one end of a dumpster and go out the other end. Very powerful weapon. Politics, it gets in the way of you and your power because you allow it, because you're not united. Now, as I go around the country, this is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing and sitting with attorney generals. I'm seeing and sitting with senators, state and federal. And I'm sitting with people that are conservative and free thinkers. And I'm here to tell you, it's the only hope we have, is if the people become more powerful and the politicians work with them. You all should be controlling them. They should not be controlling you.
Amen.
That is why we're here. Now, I'm not trying to bag on any politicians or make politicians that are here feel less than whole. You all have a reason, and you ran for and been voted into office. Things like the Second Amendment should not be a game that we have to play. But this gentleman is working to bring the Second Amendment, which is a right, back to our ability to carry weapons. I mean, our amendments and our freedoms have been so skewed that when we think about the First Amendment and we hear freedom of speech and freedom of the press, most people think in this country that when they say freedom of the press, they're talking about CNN and MSNBC and Fox. Freedom of the press, it's the only thing I really disagree with in the Constitution is that wording. I think it should have been freedom of speech and freedom to disseminate information. They weren't talking about companies. They were talking about your ability to print on a press and disseminate that information to people against a tyrannical government without fear, or against the government without fear from the government coming after you. But people don't understand their rights. And so we have good politicians, and we have communist politicians, we have establishment politicians, but we don't have a unified body to control them. And that's why we keep getting ourselves into this position. Now, I'm going to wrap it up. And I got a little speech that I wrote, actually. I know that I talk a lot, but I actually wrote this one. But I wanted to play something for you. I totally disregarded this. I wanted to play this for you, in case you didn't know who I was. Probably should have started with this, but...
My name is Jonathon Gilliam, and this is The Experts. Thank you for joining me for another episode of The Experts. I'm Jonathon Gilliam. On tonight's episode, we're going to talk about terrorism It's a term that you keep hearing in the media and by politicians.
Now, the man who oversaw the FBI's Special Event Security in 2010, former Navy SEAL Jonathon Gilliam. Good to see you, sir.
Good to be here. Be smart. You have to think like an attacker, and you have to be able to look and say, before you go there and say, if there's something that happens, I'm going to go this way, and I'm going to get out of it, because you're thinking, where would an attack come from? You know, we've been fighting wars now for over 13 years based on the hearts and minds, winning the hearts and minds of these different countries. If you want to see love and you want to see hope, go look at a baby's eyes. I challenge people, go look at a dog when you come home after work. That's love. That's devotion. If you want to defeat an enemy like ISIS, you have to go over there and eliminate them. You have to go take the fight to them and go to war.
Jonathon Gilliam, U.S. Navy SEAL. Thank you, my friend. Very good seeing you.
Good to be here.
Got to stop playing, boo. Stop playing.
So here's the problem. You're an entertainer, I'm not. Okay? So what you're doing right now is you're ramping this conversation up and throwing stuff into it that I'm not making that point. We are one country, and we fought for this. People are dying for this every day, for the freedom for us to be Americans. I look at you as an American.
The scenario I'm about to show you was designed by former Navy SEAL, FBI Special Agent, and CNN analyst Jonathon Gilliam. There's not always a right answer for when to shoot and when to hold your fire. Jonathon Gilliam, former FBI and Navy SEAL, is my partner.
See anything in his hands?
Can we come in, Sean?
No.
No, he doesn't have anything in his.
Okay, go ahead, go on.
I'm telling you now, if you don't leave, I'm going to kill everyone in this room, including myself.
So why don't you put your other hand on the table?
I'm telling you, it's time to leave.
What would you do? Shoot or not shoot?
What's the problem? Why are you not responding to me?
Yeah, we gotta get
You
this
want
guy.
me
You
to
got it.
respond?
Okay, bam. You're dead. If he presents the threat to you, then you have the right to use deadly force, not just to protect your life, but to protect your partner or anybody else, because if he shoots you both, he can then go out and be a deadly, imminent danger to the public. And that's the reality. These cops, when they put a gun, hold on a second, you talked for 10 minutes, hold on. And nothing in there, when you were describing your father, said that you were a cop. So you don't know what it's like to be on the street. You may know what it's like to have a father come back from the street, but you don't know what it's like to be on the street. Being on the street, these cops, every day they go out, they're putting their life on the line. When they put their badge on and their gun on, they go there to do the right thing.
It's my son.
I've gone through all this already. So I want to ask, is this the way you see yourself? That is 800 pounds of killing machine. That voice can be heard for over a mile.
He's mad. Just talking. Sounds like my dog.
I love this part. Like what? Is this how you see yourself? Do you see yourself as a free American that is not going to take it from the liberal, communist, socialist, globalist left? Or do you sit on your couch complaining like this? Is this you?
I got one of them too.
That's my cat.
It's precious. Somebody's going to take care of this little thing and feed it and pet it, comfort it. Is that you? Is that what you want government to do? To pet you and cuddle you and take care of you? Neuter it. So one of the things here, we're going to skip past that.
Pomeranians.
One second. Well, we're going to skip it, I guess. But I'm going to read this speech to you. Imagine, if you will, the founding fathers of the United States of America, and they're standing around the room with you right now and looking down at you with angry faces. They're saying, we provided the vessel of God's freedom for you. And only you could have ensured that vessel would be supported and defended. But now that vessel, our great Constitution, and those God-given freedoms it ensures are in peril of dying with you. Because no one remembers the tyranny that they fled. Now imagine all those that have fallen in battle, in defense and service to this country. And they're standing around here as well with the founding fathers. And with sad and disappointed faces, they're saying, we sacrificed for you. Was it in vain? We died in service to you so that you could be free. And only you could have ensured that freedom by continuing to serve each other. But now that freedom and this country's way of life are in peril of dying with you. Because no one wants to serve anything but themselves anymore. And lastly, imagine those that were oppressed and those that were enslaved, who suffered as martyrs to growth and equal rights. They too are standing here amongst the founding fathers and those that died in battle in service to you. And they're saying and looking down at you with sad faces, saying, we sacrificed our bodies and lives to ensure equal freedoms for you. And only you could have sustained that freedom and our legacy. But now our legacy and those freedoms are in peril of dying with you. Now I want you to consider this. Our American flag, Old Glory. She stands in front of you. Powerful. Her appearance representing the exceptionalism of our citizenry and the strength of our Constitution. Her stripes represent the blood of sacrifice, and the stars represent the unification of the Republic. She stands strong. She stands silent. And without a word, she asks, who will stand with me? Who will defend me? Who will die for me? So once again, I pledge my oath to you, O glory. For God and country, I will support and defend you. I think my resume proves that. I think the fact that I've been in a Suburban for a month proves that. If today is the last day that I may live, let it be for Old Glory. If today is the last great fight that I will ever have, let it be for Old Glory and what she represents. And if today I must die, may I lay my life down for Old Glory. May I live and die for Old Glory. If that is not the inspiration, the motivation that's inside of you, then you need to check yourself. Because there are people that are going to take your freedom away from you. This may seem like an overdone dramatic speech, but I'm telling you, when you walk out that door, you better remember what I told you about subversion. When you get in your car, you better remember that in other countries, women can't drive. When you go home and you walk through the door and you get ready for bed and you say your prayers,
Don't know how to drive here.
you better remember and take it seriously that people are dying in other countries because they're Christian. You are the machine that makes freedom go. The veterans are the ones that defend that freedom. But if you don't start uniting, what you see on television, what's happening over there, is going to start happening here. And I can guarantee you that. It's just a matter of time. Because the young people are not being guided toward freedom and the Constitution and conservatism. So let's raise a toast. I'll drink water. Here's the lying, stealing, fighting, and drinking. If you're going to lie, lie to save a friend. If you're going to steal, steal a heart. If you're going to fight, fight a good enemy. And if you're going to drink, my fellow free-thinking Americans, drink with me.
Salud.